All right, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at this new unit, which is all about ions, what an ion is, and bonding, so how two atoms actually come together to form a bond. So, to kick it off, what is an ion? All an ion is, it's an atom or a molecule that has a net electric charge, meaning it has a positive or negative charge, because it has either lost or gained electrons. Kind of an important distinction to make is these things have a charge, whether it's positive or negative, because they've lost or gained electrons, not protons. Remember, if I change my number of protons, I'm changing the actual element that I have. The number of protons is kind of our identification for our element. So we're just focusing on changing the electrons right now. So, for example, here's a neutral lithium atom, right? Lithium is atomic number 3. So it has 3 protons, or 3 positive forces. It has 3 electrons, so 3 negative forces. And so plus 3 plus negative 3 equals 0. Right, so this is a neutral atom, has no charge. If lithium loses an electron, so we'll look over here, so now it only has 2 electrons, well that means I have 3 protons, so 3 positive charges, I have 2 electrons, so 2 negative charges, which gives me a net charge of plus 1, right, positive 3 minus 2, it's going to give me a positive 1. So now this lithium has a plus 1 charge, and you could write this as Li plus 1, or you could just write Li plus. And whenever we don't write a number, we assume it's a 1. So the 1 can kind of be assumed. Now let's look at these a little bit more in detail, look at maybe a couple more examples. All right, so kind of looking a little bit more in detail, we have positively charged ions, right? We looked at lithium. Lithium had a positive charge because it lost an electron. We call that a cation. So a cation is any positively charged ion. For example, if I have sodium that lost an electron, now I have Na plus or Na plus 1. If magnesium lost 2 electrons, it would become Mg plus 2. Right, I'm losing those negative forces, so my atom is going to become more positive. And that's a cation. Here's my little picture for that. On the opposite side, an anion, I don't have a picture for this one, is a negatively charged ion. So that's when an atom gains electrons, right? It gains more negative forces. So my example here would be chlorine minus 1, or just minus, because the 1 can kind of be assumed. Right, so I have cations, a positively charged ion, and anions, a negatively charged ion. If we compare them right next to each other, I think this is a good visual for you if you're a visual kind of person. So here I have my anion, my negatively charged ion, and you can see over here I have the same number of protons as I do electrons, so it's neutral. But if I gain an electron, well now I have one more negative force than I do positive forces, so I'm going to have an overall minus 1 charge. That's an anion. Versus over here, I have a cation. So same thing, I have a neutral atom. So I have 3 positive forces, 3 protons. I have 3 negative forces, 3 electrons. If I lose one of those electrons, now I have 3 protons, but only 2 electrons. So I'm going to have a plus 1 charge because I have 1 more proton than I do electrons. So anions are negatively charged, cations are positively charged. My memory trick for this one is, and maybe you don't like cats, so it might not work for you, but I like cats. I think cats are a positive thing, and a cation is the positively charged atom. Kind of just an easy, a quick way to help you remember that. But let's look at an actual example of that. So aluminum. All right, aluminum is atomic number 13, which tells us that in a neutral state, it has 13 protons, so 13 positives, and 13 electrons, 13 negatives, right? So it's neutral, has 0 charge. I'm going to look at what were to happen if aluminum gained an electron and lost an electron. And we already know that aluminum is a metal, it's more likely to lose those electrons, but we're just going to play this what-if scenario. All right, so if aluminum gained an electron, you can look down kind of right here. So I have those 13 protons, and now I would have 14 electrons. So I have one more electrons than I do protons, which is going to give my aluminum a minus 1 charge, right, for that one more electron that it has. If it had gained 2 electrons, then I would have a minus 2 charge. If it gained 3, I'd say minus 3, and so on. Versus over here, this is if it lost an electron. All right, if it lost an electron, so now I have more protons, right, I have 13 protons than I do electrons, that's going to give aluminum a positive 1 charge. Same thing, if it lost 2 electrons, I'd have a positive 2 charge. If I lost 3, I'd have a positive 3 charge. And we can look where aluminum is on the periodic table, right? It's in group number 13, column 13. So it has 3 valence electrons. So aluminum is usually going to form a +3 charge, right? It's going to lose those 3 electrons. But hopefully that's some good insight as to how we kind of figure out the charge of my atom. And we're going to be doing some practice with this. But that's all I have for this video, short and sweet. If you have questions, you can stop me and send me an email.